And I'm going to do the land acknowledgement off the cuff. Uh, this city of Stoughton, this fine city of ours, was the ancestral grounds of the Ho-Chunk, and they called this area Dejob. In 1832, they were forced from this land. May all of the things that have happened since 1832 help guide us in our endeavor and our belonging. All right. I happen to be Jean Lagaki. I hardly got to introduce myself last time, so I'm going to go first. And then we pick who's next. Again, those who did a lot last time, give the postage stamp version and what your heart needs to. And we definitely want to hear from Laura and George and welcome them. I happen to be a city council person, but I've been a social justice person so much longer in my life. And I've been a social worker for most of my professional career. And I just want to say, I believe that it was some of my experiences as a marginalized person who could not marry or benefit from all the rights and responsibility. There's 1,132 of them that come with marriage. For those of you that are geeks about this, at least there was back in the 90s. There might be more by now, but that time of my life really helped solidify how important social justice is for us all as well as ourselves. So I am so grateful that the city of Stoughton has listened to this diversity equity call and that we are given a charge. So there we go. And that's really all I want to say about myself today. I am picking Sarah Esmen to go.
Thank you, Jean. Hello, everybody. Sarah Esmen. I've lived in Stoughton for about 20 plus years. My husband, David, and he moved here from the Rockford area when he was 12. So we have a decent sense of insider-outsider stuff. And I'm employed at the University of Wisconsin in the Collaborative Center for Health Equity. So a lot of the work I do day to day connects to DEI stuff. And I will hand it off to George Carlson. Welcome, George.
I had to unmute. Thanks for welcoming me to the group. I'm a retired clergy. I've been a pastor since 1971. I've been retired though now for about 8 years. I moved to Stoughton in 2009. I grew up in East Central Iowa on a farm. I've gotten to know people in various situations. We spent 2 years in Southern Africa on an internship on a mission station. Near my hometown, there was an Indian settlement, Meskwaki. We didn't get to know them well, but I played football against them. And I've gotten to know people through my work as a pastor in 4 communities in our state, all in southern Wisconsin. I've become particularly sensitive, I think, in these later years as to some of the issues that are faced. I did a Rhodes Scholar with my wife in Canada, and one of the recommended readings dealt with Native Americans, and I really got my eyes open to changes that had been brought on them that were not helpful in their culture at all by people that should have known differently as I look back on it, but cultures change, and I'm glad there's some growth in our time. And in terms of, I've lived pretty much in the lily white communities all my life, so I haven't gotten to know or be good friends with people of other races, although we've helped resettle a Vietnamese couple in 1980 and a Bhutanese couple in 2010 as part of a refugee resettlement program. And that's been enlightening and helpful for me to see the changes that they bring, the joy that they have in life, and their love of one another and their love of us. So it's been enriching for me. That's probably enough. Thanks for welcoming me to the group.
George, please pick who goes next.
Pardon?
Please pick who goes next.
Oh, yeah. I'll call in, is it Denise and Donald?
Yeah. So I'm Donald, my wife Denise here. I've worked on a committee like this before in Eau Claire when we lived there in the early 2000s. I'm an IT guy, and I work for an organization that believes in bridging the digital divide, particularly with low-income communities, people of color as well. So there can be diversity. There can be definitely an impact on that level when there's a disparity there, privilege and whatnot. So I'm real passionate about things like this. So I'm excited to be on this committee, and any way that I can help, I'll just do it. So.
So I'm Denise. I was thinking about an impactful moment that I thought I would share because I can tell you I'm a therapist at UW Health. I'm on the main committee there for the equality, working through some of the issues we have there. But I didn't really think about sharing that, but I will. When we were in Hudson, I always tell people, you know, my husband and I don't look the same. And we were driving through Hudson, Wisconsin. I said, oh my gosh, this is a beautiful little town. Can you imagine living here back when it was created? And my husband looked at me and said, yeah, I would be hanging from a tree. And it hit me like I had no idea how to put words to that, because being so privileged, I never really thought about that. Like how that would, I still can't put words to it. Like what? You know, I never thought about that. I never considered that. And to have that said was accurate, but it was shocking to me. So it was kind of that moment. And I remember sharing that story with so many people. Some of them were surprised and some of them were like, yeah, you didn't know that? And I said, I personally, I never thought about it. So yeah, that was my impactful story. So from that moment on, you know, I realized maybe things that I hadn't noticed before, which seems quite simplistic, but on the one hand, it's really good. And on the other hand, not as helpful as it can be. So that was what I wanted to say. So yeah, that's why I'm.
Thanks, Denise. Who's next?
Laura, how you doing?
Thank you. Great. I'm so happy to be here tonight. What drew me to this group is I've been, for the last 13 years, a mentor with Girl to Girl, and we support a lot of Black and Brown kids who are freshmen through senior for the 13 years. And then 2 years ago, we started a middle school group, and it's included, it's for any middle school girl or high school girl, but our group naturally has come together to support Black and Brown kids in our community. And I've had the privilege of advocating and going in to support the kids with policies so that they are protected under the policies for bullying and the likes. And so I have learned through the kids I am in relationship with how to be a great ally with them. And my hope with this group is to bring kids to come for a night and share, and bring adults in our community to share. So not only do I want to be involved, but I want to get the word out by being involved. So that's why I'm here. And I thank you. Amanda.
Okay, hello.
Hey, Amanda.
Are you crying? I am Amanda, and I'm sorry, I'm in the car with my daughter, so I'm just on the way home. I am I've been in Stoughton since like 2006, and I think like everyone else, I've had experiences that just kind of you can't close your eyes to, and you want to help. And so I think I'm all in for all the reasons. I think that everybody should feel welcome and a sense of community here. And I think right now that isn't the case, but I think that there's a lot of good people and a lot of good pockets and a lot of good things happening. So if we can just keep that up and everybody kind of merge together, I think that we have a good, strong community that can come together and grow.
Thank you, Amanda. And do you want me to pick who's next for you?
That would be wonderful. Thank you so much.
All right, Michelle, you're on.
I'm Michelle. I have 2 Black sons who are currently going to school in Stoughton. I adopted one's 13, one is 10. I am a teacher in Jefferson Middle School. And I also have a white son who's 27 who went to the district years ago. And I have Black sons. I want to join this group to help learn and protect them. And as a teacher, I want to help protect other teachers who parents come after them for things they might have like in their library or things they might say or do in their class.
There's 2 left, Michelle.
I can't see names. Can you go ahead and pick for me?
Let's choose Renee or Linda. Linda, it's you.
Hi, I'm Linda Schaefer, and I'm very fortunate because I work for an employer that wants me to be part of this, Stoughton Health. We have our own LGBTQ plus advisory committee that we started last year, and they asked me to join this. And I was super excited because as a parent, I feel like I need to be on the right side of this. And I need to do more than just put the yard sign, out. So I'm excited to personally be a part of this and to be able to learn and to help the hospital move forward, help the city move forward. And again, just being on the right side of things is important, and being a parent who advocates and doesn't stand by.
Thanks, Linda.
And Renee, you're up.
Hi, so my name is Renee Wilberg, and I've lived in Stoughton for about 22 years. I have an adopted son who's now 27, and he went through the school system here. And during that time, I had some certain experiences with the schools and just the community. He graduated, life moved on, and then I became a therapist and started working with some teenagers who were at Stoughton High School, and quickly realized nothing had changed, and in some respects, things had gotten more intense. I'm guessing the intensity of social media over that decade between my son's graduation and current time. So I was involved in another committee in Stoughton for a period of time, and it didn't seem like this was maybe much of what they wanted to focus on. And so I was really happy to have this opportunity to, like everyone is saying, like see some change, be a part of it, and yeah, not just sit back and watch it, but do it.
Thank you, Renee. Welcome, Mary, if it's Mary or Tess, but welcome. And I don't know if you're with us yet, but we were just finishing just finishing introductions. Hey, Mary. You are muted.
Hi, everybody. Mary Bergeson-Galoon. I'm just a parent. I have 2 kids, one in middle school, one in Sandhill, 5th and 7th. I was just in kid mode, so sorry about all this. I work for the COVID line with Django DX, and I'm transitioning to the parks soon.
Mary, is it okay if I mention that you and Tess shared that very powerful story about your progress LGBT flag?
Of
And-
course.
And the
That's
American. You'll want to ask them about that. Very powerful story. I think it got a little press because I was aware at some point, or maybe I had that because I happened to be on public safety. But yeah, very powerful witnesses that we have people balanced and talking about experiences. So I don't plan to always facilitate meetings, but we're at the very beginning. And there's a few things that kind of just got to get organized and done. And as a result of our last meeting, which was extremely powerful, today we are going to talk about some ground rules. I hope that some of you were able to think about that a little bit, that it was suggested maybe we just have a couple, but our communication has been rock solid, but perhaps ground rules would lead to some good safety for folks. But before we get into the potential agenda topics, I just kind of wanted to share. So I am so excited about this group, and I envisioned, as this came our way, that we'll be able to operate as like a part of the city, but perhaps pretty freely. And when I say that, one of the most amazing things that happened when I became a council person is I really got in touch with how governments work and the rules and the ethics that govern all that. So like, I was shocked when I got on the council, and I'm like, it's really hard to work between meetings. A lot of work gets done when people are gathered. And I was like, what's up with that? And it's open records, open meetings law, sorry. And yeah, like we couldn't technically, like, let's say we wanted to organize and do a sign up for Seton Demai on a Google Doc. Technically, when we apply these rules, that's not so easy to do, because that gets defined a meeting. And I can understand it when you really sit down and start sitting with this stuff. So I had a good conversation with the city attorney yesterday, because I believe, not in error, but not with all of the knowledge I needed. I made a statement that we're not subject to open meetings laws. And we are. We definitely are. Any committee of the council. So it's a little challenging, but I must say, with creativity, with good organization, you get stuff done. And you always let people know what you're doing. And transparency is like huge for us. We want that out there. But city confines can be a little interesting. And a couple people are smirking, they get it. But for some folks who might not understand some workings, the reason I'm bringing this up is we've gotten appointed by a mayor. The council thought this is a good idea. They're going to listen to our strategic plan. And all of these events are going on, but hopefully we're going to be, I think I used the word clearinghouse. I hate that. We're going to be a connecting place, helping just all of this come to a place where we can look at it and deal with it in an organized way for our city. That is my goal. I thought we were going to be able to be a little bit more informal than what we're going to be able to be. So like, you got the notice from the city clerk, one of the city clerks, about this meeting. And it definitely is always going to be 24 hours before. So because the public has the right to know we're meeting and what we're talking about. And to be honest, we are charged with only talking about the items on our agenda. So I wrote them fairly broadly, and always do, but there's going to be some positives and minuses that we might not be able to do things like Google Docs, or if we want to remain part of the city, this given this charge and empowered, right? That's the language that we wrote. And we're going to have that regardless. But I kind of want to put out there and say, it is so cool for us to have this power, but it's going to be a little trickier than I thought. And I'm not going to go massively in the weeds and the details unless you ask questions about that. Or we could consider being a hybrid, do we do this with the empowerment of the city and the status as long as we can? And maybe it's just fine all the way through. And if it gets to be too much, we let it go. Or do we say, like, we can't really do spontaneous meetings. We can't email back and forth. All of that are examples of open meetings laws. Those rules guide us. And I promise I'll guide you well. But yes, the information I initially received, I thought we were freer than we were, and I knew I needed to check out a few more things. And a wonderful conversation with the city attorney. We will do what's right. The city's still going to listen to us no matter what. But in good faith, I felt I needed to put that out there because I'm talking about us organizing, and they would be two very different ways of us operating. So let me be quiet for a minute as I think about if there's anything else. I didn't have a ton of notes, but I just wanted to share that experience with you and say comments, reactions, it's no big deal. We'll work around it. Or do people go, can't email back and forth. We can't spontaneously meet. Wow. I saw us do it a lot on Google Docs. I'll be honest with you. That's not allowed. So there's no decisions to be made, but right now, because I think there's a small group of us, but I wanted to bring that forward. And so now I'm going to be quiet and say comments, questions, reactions.
I was thinking that if this is public and we wanted to gather socially or informally, I don't know how safe that would feel, having it be a public announcement.
Mm-hmm.
You had sent links, Jean, to other DEI committees, and I had noticed, like, on their city websites where they're acknowledged and there's their own webpage, that their notes and agendas were all, for the public. There's a link for the agenda. So I was thinking about that tonight before we got together, because we had asked to talk about ground rules, and some of those might be nice, but like everything can't be like what's said in the group stays in the group. Like that's not a reality. And so, yeah, that was food for thought, like a new awareness, like, well, how much do I want to share my personal business and things like that. So, yeah.
From my perspective, there's a lot of power staying a city group. And just, I think the credibility that allows us, if we are planning on making actual structural policy changes within the city, I mean, what's our goal? Is our goal to make changes in the hiring process, in how the city hires people, how the city, the type of benefits they offer, if that's our goal, then staying as a city group, I think, gives us a lot more credibility. If our goal is not that, then I think we have other options. But I mean, I've worked somewhat within city confines, or not city confines, but with under open meeting laws with different groups, and you just plan, you organize a little bit more than maybe what you thought you did, and you're super careful when you run into someone and you don't talk about whatever it is that you may want to talk about at the meeting. You just have to be more mindful about it. It's not my understanding though that personal things necessarily would be documented, because I can completely understand that concern. I think you only document and take minutes on things that are on the agenda, and how detailed we decide to take notes, that's also up to us. I also believe that meetings do meetings have to be recorded? I mean, not if they're.
They do not. They do not need to be recorded. We just thought, as we're getting started and just trying to help bring people, and we're keeping our, right now we don't have a set number of people yet, and that would need to be addressed too as we remain with the city, because of quorum. And I'll explain all that later. We'll be fine. But yeah, nice depiction. And lost my train of thought there for a second.
I'll just speak for myself. I would need some education on the whole open records laws. Like I'm not knowledgeable on all that. So like somebody, Linda, was that you that said, if you run into somebody, you can't say something? Like, I don't know anything about that. So
Basically you run, oh, I'm sorry, you'll give a better explanation than me.
No, go ahead. Linda was the president of the library board when I joined the library, and the library operated in their own way. So we'll have our personality, but we know what's required. But we will definitely be happy to educate those of you so you can successfully maneuver and figure out how to exploit the system. Little joking there, but no, there are times, in some ways, we're exploiting by saying there's power by staying with the city. That's smart, strategic, but it's also an exploitation because I think we'd feel freer in other means. So yes, that would be available. But Linda, go ahead. Say more.
Well, and actually the grocery store one, that's a little bit of an over exaggeration. It's really, if I'm remembering correctly, it's 3 or more people. And then that becomes what's called a walking quorum.
It is when the potential for more than half of your group is together. Whether
okay. I thought it was 3, but okay.
Or overtime. So that's where, like, Google Docs, we all could visit Google Docs over 2 weeks, but technically we all visited this one place and conducted business. That was a meeting.
Basically, the idea is that you don't want to meet and have discussions about things that aren't during an actual meeting, like a designated, publicly noted meeting. And so to have side discussions and making decisions outside of what is a publicized meeting, that's where you start to violate open meeting laws. So it's really not super complicated or tricky. It's just a matter of saying, okay, this is when we're meeting and we're going to meet, and this is when we're going to talk about it. And we're going to follow up. We'll just set another meeting date, and whether you want to do it in person or you want to do it via Zoom, it doesn't matter. But it's, just making sure that you're not having side discussions with people and not, emailing, trying to make decisions. Yeah, it's definitely different. But I guess because I've done it, I see the power in it. But again, I completely respect folks who see it as like, oh, that's way too many restraints.
I have a comment and a question. I assume that talking with other people that are not on the committee has nothing to do with open meeting. If people want to talk about what we're doing on the committee, we can explain it to them. We can ask their opinion and all that. Am I correct in that thinking?
Yes.
The second one, we're recording this. Are these recordings being posted in the public domain?
That I would ask you all. For now, right now, the reason for recording that I stated was to help bring our members up to speed if they want to view it. And the mayor is going to send them to me. So I'm kind of the holder of information for now. But we don't have to record, but I think it does make sense for folks until we're kind of going. So yeah, at any point, if we want to stop recording, we can so choose. We are a group.
And in terms of the open meeting, if I'm in the grocery store and I run into Linda, can we not talk about the issues that are before us? Or can I comment about something that I saw in the paper that deals with our issue?
We will definitely, as we stay at the status as being part of the city right now, I will definitely get us more education out there in a way that suits you. You can talk about the topic in general as a human person, as who you are, empowered, opinion sharing. But when, like for me as an alder, because you have status because you're on this committee. For me as an alder, Like I can go on Facebook and put personal stuff out there, or I can talk with people about things that are important to me. But the minute I start bringing up things that happened at the council meeting or the vote before us and things like that, I'm going to be really careful about the environments by which I talk about that. So we're gonna be respectful of boundaries. That's what it comes down to. Personal opinion and who you are as a person is always good, but yeah, to say we're getting the business done of this committee or trying to affect a decision that for the committee work, no, we're asking that to happen at our meetings. Anybody else as we chew on this? We're making no decisions.
So it's basically like insider trading laws, if you will. I mean, nothing shouldn't be discussed in the public domain that is not already in the public domain. Is that kind of what you're saying? All right.
So now you guys know Donald has an interesting business background. Nice comparison. Anybody else? Don't want to unsettle you, but I want us fully informed. To be honest, I thought we were freer than we were. I am absolutely a 50-50 right now. I am like, could go either way, and we don't have enough people here, but I was hoping to not use as many city rules, and trust me, my style, please don't be afraid, but when it comes to us needing to make decisions or begin taking actions, you're going to see me call for someone to move this forward or make a motion or whatever. And then we're going to ask for a second and for people to vote. We have to do that. So even though we're not doing Robert's Rules of Order, we definitely need to act as a whole in our decisions that allows all of our opinions and our voice to speak.
And Jean, am I remembering correctly? It's been a few years now, but as far as like votes go, it is recorded who votes and how.
Yes. So, yeah, like it does. Generally, most votes go in favor of things. We don't have to make motions to put things on the table. Like we can be relaxed. But when there's action, we're going to need to just move things. And it is just fine if people disagree. In fact, I would expect with this type of a topic, we will have a continuum of opinions. But when we need to decide, so like this thing about, do we stay with the city and follow those rubrics for now? Or do we choose to thank the city for getting us started, respectfully let the mayor know we need to go rogue, but we will go get in. So my suggestion is if we don't want these conflicts and we don't want this power brought upon us, we would ask to give updates to council and or city community. We would do the same things. We would just step outside of those confines. It is a weighing. There are advantages and disadvantages. I don't want it to weigh us down too much, but I felt if we were going to talk about ground rules, like Renee said, yeah, they're going to be different ground rules if we stay with city slightly, not tons, but slightly. And if we want to go rogue, it is just fine if we want to go rogue. We would be absolutely free to do what it is that we want to do and honor the city because they would still listen. But Linda's right. There is something about power. Like, what if we send off this survey to the city staff on Google Docs and they just don't get it back to us quite the way we want it? Because we're this group, right? But when we're the city and there's alders and there's and stuff, like they get that shit done. To excuse my French, but yeah. I mean, so that's an example of how power might be. I don't want to spend too much more time, but yet questions, comments, do you guys feel it's been presented balanced like, and just given a heads up? And we've probably got a decision to make in the next meeting or two about this, or not. We just hold on to it until it becomes unworkable. If that's what we think, well, We don't have to make a decision because we've got this status, but I'm all about full disclosure. Anybody else, comments or questions?
I had a question. It's funny because you just said full disclosure. And my question was, if I wanted something off the record and not published, do I just say, just confidentially speaking, I would like that? Or is that off? Then
Well,
is that
you're being recorded right now. So we would probably say, hey, let's do a lot of things. But if there's some things that we'd like to discuss off the record, the recording of this, let's shut it off at this time. But when it comes to business, or there's something that needs to be discussed as a group, and there are some fragile, loaded elements that we wouldn't want out there in the public, we can go into closed session. But that's not what I think you're asking about. You're asking if I just want to talk about something confidentially. It's potential that anybody could go to the city link and be on here. We should see them, right? We should. I don't think we have anybody outside of our group here, but anybody could come and attend. It's out there. People just have to click the packets and agendas and click, and there's the Zoom link, and they can come. So that's a sense of we'd have to shut a recorder off. I want you to know other people could be watching, but because we're virtual right now, we should see if there's others here. Laura,
Jean,
did
if
I
I
answer
could-
your question? I think I did.
I think maybe part of Laura's question might be like, are specific comments that people make recorded in meeting minutes?
Yeah. So
And yeah, I think that's like, specifically if you have an opinion about something, will that be recorded in city meeting minutes? And I don't think it would be, correct?
So Laura, you might not have read the summary that I emailed out on Saturday. That was our minutes.
Oh, I did. Okay, good.
Yeah. That is an example of how, and I chose to do it by topic. You guys, this is going to surprise you, but I love to rebel against the texture when I can. I'm a rule follower. I'm a good girl, but I rebel frequently when I can, appropriately and mindfully. So I did a different style, called it a summary, and did it by topic. But if you notice, if anybody looked at it closely, the agenda went out in the typical city way, and that's what's going to happen. They took my information and they transposed it for them because it's a requirement, but yet I'm keeping this. So I would write a summary just the way for today's meeting, just like I did that last time.
Perfect. I think that answers all my questions. Thank you very much.
All right. Well, thanks for listening. The city politic. May it not take energy from you. May it empower. It empowered us to help get to this point. So trust me, there's really cool stuff that can happen. Anybody else on that particular question, comments? All right, so on our agenda, and because we're a slightly smaller group, I don't know if we want to do ground rules tonight. I had that first. I'm not sure if that's wise. A part of me would just love to talk about us setting up a monthly meeting and the best time for that, because I only put a doodle poll out for these first ones. I think that's really important for us to get a sense of that. And then, and if you say, Jean, redoodle poll us and let's try to find a standing time, or are we going to just pick it each time? I don't know. If we're going to remain in the city structure, it's wise to get a monthly time. It's just wise. Review of our resources. Some people went looking at interesting stuff, which is great. Thank you guys for that feedback. Also on our agenda is potentially talking about funding and goals and mission. Funding and goals and mission, I think, are a little farther out, but let's get our structure going. And right now we're in the city type way. How would we like to meet? Do we want to meet monthly? And maybe for action meeting, maybe identify another time, but I also don't want to meeting people out. I just want us to get the strategic plan going and these cool events that we got coming. Thoughts about meeting?
I think if we got a meeting the same time every month, I think that would be easier for me to remember personally.
Part of my interest in signing up was that I saw the time commitment was a monthly meeting, which didn't seem to me that would be an overburden for me. Although I am retired, so some say I don't have any burdens.
Yeah, monthly's fine with us too.
Same.
Yep.
Same.
All right. It'll
Yes.
monthly is the way to go. And we can always, when we have a project, we can add. And we would naturally, spontaneously get together and work on it if we were rogue. If we're the city, we just got to plan that a little bit more and then be spontaneous in our interactions and our energy. Yeah, let's go monthly. And I got a sense from what I put out, Wednesday or Thursday nights appeared, though I only put 3 dates out and one of them was a Saturday, but maybe I'm projecting. Wednesday or Thursday nights are probably good for me. The beginning of the week and a work week is a little intense with my other city stuff. Are people okay with Wednesday or Thursdays? Does anybody want us to stay away from one of those?
My preference would be a Thursday, but I can make a Wednesday work most of the time.
I want to hear about preferences now. Thank you so much. We have one preference for a Thursday. Anybody else have anything you want me to be aware of?
I'm the opposite of Renee. I work on Thursdays until 7, but Wednesdays are easier for me.
Okay. Okay.
For Wednesdays.
Wednesdays.
Yeah, Wednesday works. Yeah.
Okay. So there might be a lean towards Wednesdays. I think what I'd like to do is put a doodle poll out to us and just see what Wednesday of the month might work best. And then our plan would be when we have something urgent or an event coming up and we need organizing, you just let me know and we make it happen. Try to keep that as informal as possible for now. So I'll put a poll out to the whole group that offers Wednesdays. And let's see how that's received. Okay. All right, let's go for Wednesdays, once a month, and then adding as we need. Love it. All right. So I've been talking about structuring ourselves, and there's the city, or do we go rogue? I love calling it going rogue. So we've been given the strategic plan, and Donald, I'm pointing at you. He asked this great question last time about the way his brain works. I got a sense of. He's like, well, what about that strategic plan? Has the city given us more of a directive? There is a little bit of information, but no, the strategic plan is wide open. They want us to try to help gather a lot of this and successfully got across. We need to hear from more of our people. So that's why I went in that grassroots direction. And that's why we didn't read about grassroots and city government. It is harder than hell to do grassroots within city confines. So the strategic plan can look like whatever we want it to. Though I had recommended that we should definitely be polling these city departments. And so I'm going to share the screen a little bit and show this structure that you guys saw a little bit last time. I had it open. Let me go. Can you see that? Can you see the graph, the mind map? Did I lose you?
No, I can't see it.
Okay,
Not seeing.
all right. Let me,
The host disabled. I wonder if you need to be enabled as a host by Tim.
I didn't hit share yet.
That's what you have to do is hit share.
It's not, it's gray. God dang it, I did something stupid. At least I didn't lose you guys. How did I get stuck here? It won't, dang it, it is stuck. You're here, you can hear me, but you are grayed out and
We
I
can
can't get.
hear you pounding that button.
Oh yeah, oh, I forgot, this thing has a really, really sensitive speaker. God dang it. My Zoom knowledge is not intense.
So the share screen button is grayed out?
Yeah, the share is grayed out and I've got share your entire screen. Zoom wants to share the contents of your screen. Why did I cancel that? Okay, you're back. Hello. Let me go open that mind map and then try to share. Apparently it needs to be opened and not minimized. I think I've made that mistake before.
There's a lot going on somewhere.
Oh yeah, this is me just pressing my little, yeah, my speaker's crazy, crazy sensitive.
In some Zoom meetings, I see a chat button. Is that on this one?
I wish they gave us a chat button. The city does not have it.
Another opportunity for mischief, George.
Guess what? I just did it. Okay, can you guys see this thing?
Yes.
There you see it
Thank
now.
you. Cool. All right. So this strategic plan idea, right now, the way that as I've been listening and put out there, but this thing hasn't gotten a ton of input from you guys yet. You can see a little bit of change since last time. Like Linda told me about, let's get Stoughton Wellness on there and Stoughton Health. And I figured out, yes, that's a way to do that because it is a citywide part that is interested and invested. The Chamber of Commerce asked for resources, and I think our chamber, I'll be honest, I think our chamber needs and is open to diversity stuff. So like, that's why we got this set into my table. We got that from the city. Laura went forward and did that. But anyways, back to the strategic plan. We will be reaching out to all of these different departments within the city, whether we remain a city committee or we go rogue. And we're going to ask them some good, smart questions about DEI, about what they have already, what they might be operating at, and then taking that information, and we might have recommendations, or they might ask us for help, or but nonetheless, it's the plan that we're going to hopefully be surveying and meeting with, or just doing by Google Docs. So there's a lot of different ideas of how we could go about a strategic plan. And is that strategic plan going to be us, or do we feel we get a consultant with not having a budget yet? But all of those are possibilities. And we've got this charge over the next 2 years in the hopes that we have at least the strategic plan looking at what's going on in our city over the next 12 to 15 months or so, and hopefully presenting this later in 2023. So that's one part of our structure that we have been asked to do, and that this group is saying, yes, we should. We definitely want to get this DEI, because anyways, I don't want to jump. That's the strategic plan idea. Comments, questions? I can make this go away so we can have our faces again if you would like, or do you want me to put this up a little longer, but that's what I have so far in this strategic plan. Comments, questions, or do you want me to bring us back?
I wonder if we should add the youth center and the school district for people that we touch base with.
Yes. So what about youth and what about our schools? So I have a feeling that in time, so Dee Roberson, who is a high school teacher, and the Undivided group is with us. And I have a feeling eventually, I don't know on timing, if the school district is going to ask to formally be a part of us. They may. The board may say, and we all, well, so far many people have been saying they see this as tied. This is definitely our city, but wow, what's going on in our school? And a lot of people talked about how some of the events and what we have experienced in the school, either themselves years ago experiencing homophobia versus a very interesting Snapchat type thing that went out, a video of someone talking about feelings and saying Black lives don't matter. I mean, there's been a lot. So for those reasons, I think the school district is going to be part of this. And actually, Amanda, I think they're their own offshoot. And they're going to have, they're a whole different operating, they're a big organization just like the city is. But we're meant to be this connecting place, gathering info, getting effective. I don't know if we'd ever have the bandwidth to be able to do a school assessment process. And who knows what they would want. Right now, the city's pretty open and saying we don't have a lot, and we really need to get more serious about DEI. That's what the city has said. And they're entrusting us to help lead that. I don't know what the school would say to us yet. And both Frank Sullivan and Jill Patterson, they're the two vice president and president of the school board. They've expressed interest. There's a ton going on for them right now. They know, though, they have an urgent issue. So that's a question mark. I feel I need to see you. Can I just shrink this for a second? So Amanda, that was a good point. We could have a whole nother strategic planning process that would be coming from the city, and do we have that bandwidth, and what the city's going to do? And we're a small group, right? That's just a hypothetical question that I'm putting out there. But thank you for that comment. Yeah, Mary BG.
Teresa is working with parents to help move the school district forward in more ways than one. And she's got lots of different stories that are somewhat troubling, and some videos. And I'm wondering if we should bring that group into this as well. Just so our group is aware of certain things that are going on in the schools, because we do have some students and parents coming forward.
Nice.
And there have not been some good experiences, and it has to do with race, and it has to do with the LGBTQ community. So I think the more knowledge we have about what's going on in the school district would just strengthen what we're trying to do with the city.
So I'm just going to show you guys how I hope to help facilitate. Shoot, where did you go? Show you how I'm going to try to help facilitate as I hear good stuff, and then just in real time, I'm going to go right here and say, is there a name of this group, Mary?
I should know it off the top of my head, but I don't. I can get it for you though before the end of the meeting.
So
It's
we
family.
know. Yep.
It's Families for Equity.
There we go. So let's just shoot. Don't do that. Come back, please. Thank you. So I'm just going to go right here and do Families for Equity. we're just gathering these resources. We're going to connect things. We don't know what's going to come for the school, but we need to know what the heck. Amanda's great question is, and that'll get purple and larger print at some point, but I'm not going to waste our time now. We put that there, and then we could even do offshoots. We could do a right here, and we could invite them to come speak with us, or we appreciate the information they sent us as we consider it. Anyways, that's how I plan to grab that stuff, but I'm going to stop sharing. I'm being geeky. Thank you for that. Amanda, you've got us on a good thing about school and youth. And that's a whole part that we have to really structure. It's hardly there at all. And it's saying that we don't know enough. At least, though we have the right name, we have the Undivided right now. Does anybody know if there's a gay straight alliance at the high school? I've never heard of it. I'm guessing there's not. Nobody seems to know.
This group that is the Undivided used to be the Unity Club.
Okay.
But I think that it just restructured, or I'm not sure exactly what happened, but I believe that it used to be the same.
So we were talking about the strategic plan thing and what it's going to take to get that going. And right now we know our scope is the city, and then the city stuff that isn't departments. And if I heard Amanda, she thought that the youth center should go there, and I'm not going to geek you back and put that on there, but I'm writing that down for me for my meeting minutes. And yeah, we probably should have the youth center there, and we probably should have the senior center there too. Though I think they're their own department. We don't have to. The senior center has its own department. But the youth
Hey,
center,
Jean.
yeah.
This is Sarah. I don't know if you can see when people have hands up, so I just want to recognize that Denise and Donald, I think, had their hands up for a bit,
Yeah.
and in case they had something to say. Yep.
Thank you.
So I guess I have a couple concerns. I am really uncomfortable with the idea that the school is untouchable, and at the school we have to wait until they kind of invite us, because that's where the majority of recent events have happened. And I think it's been too long in our school districts where we've allowed people to take care of things that they don't. And so that being on the board in Madison, I have big concerns that we're afraid, or it sounds like we're backing off from the school because we don't want to, and I think that's where it starts. That's our biggest area of opportunity, whether we're teaching from the little ones or we're really holding the bigger ones accountable. But I find it, and I was part of the school environment when my kids were little, and I find it to be sometimes, and I don't want to offend anybody because I had kids in school too, but I find it to sometimes be this clique that's in, you can't get in it and they make these decisions. That's offensive to me. Like, that's where we need to be. And we don't need permission, I think, to do the right thing and wait for them to invite us. I think that needs to be one of the big ones, saying this is what we're going to do, and we're going to invite you to it, but we're going to do it regardless of what you 12 people decide, because it's the right thing to do with a whole lot of people who have gone unchecked for a significant amount of time. And we're seeing that throughout our schools, whether in Madison or here. And I think everybody's so afraid, from my experience in Madison, to touch that entity, and it needs to be dealt with. And I just feel really passionate about that. And maybe I'm misinterpreting what you're saying, but I'm not nearly as worried at the senior center as I am worried about those kids in 10th grade being unchecked and going, well, kids will be kids. No, they won't be kids when they're offending children who are trying to be who they are. And so anyway, it just kind of caught my eye, and I'm like, it doesn't feel comfortable for me that we don't we put them as a side entity. It's like, nah, that's a big entity. So anyway, I just think kids are getting abused in schools, whether they're gay or straight or black or white, and we look the other way because people in charge are uncomfortable. So that's what I have to say. Maybe it's not even called for, but the comment, I want to be supportive of those parents in this group saying, no, I'm just not comfortable with that for them making that decision. I think we have to be stronger than that and say, we're coming in and we're going to do the right thing. And you can be with us. You can stand on your own, but we got a whole bunch of little people that have to be protected. So that's my comment. I don't know if it's appropriate or not, but
Never appreciate your clarity. And please know that whatever you see there on the SASD is the inner workings of my mind only and trying to wrap our head around this. And we have not, I mean, schools, they've got a lot going on, but you're right. You are absolutely right. And I might have failed you by just being a little too busy lately and not being able to really say, come on, Jill and Frank. And Jill has been very open. Some of that is somewhat this organizational, these stupid structures of ours sometimes, but no, speak your wisdom. And there was more people who were nodding and gave thumbs up. I need to be quiet. Say more about school stuff and help me understand the urgency as I was envisioning.
yeah, I just think it's
That Mary had mentioned that Teresa has started. We've been going to the school board meetings every week, and though we can't make anything happen overnight, they really need people to show up and say what we're saying here, because they have people emailing them all the time to the opposite effect. People are more worried about that goddamn field than they are about any of this. And I think the staff is, of course, tired after all of this COVID stuff. And I think that, so we don't need necessarily an invitation to go in there, but so, and it's kind of been really, really nice to go. I don't always make a public comment. It's terrifying, but you can make a public comment any meeting, and it's 3 minutes long, and they are very receptive, like Jean said. I think that Frank and Jill and really everyone on the board is really receptive to it, but they need that push. They need the push because they have the other side pushing. And I am a big poster on Facebook, but even when I post, I feel like people don't really get the point that if people need to show up. People aren't showing up. And people think that other people are going to show up and it's going to be just fine. And it's not a lot of people showing up. So every other Monday night, 6:30, public comment is the first thing. You can leave after that if you want, or stick to the whole thing. And they need you there.
I'm hearing from this group so far. Who else has more to say about this important topic?
This is Sarah, and I've joined Tess and Amanda and others at the school board meetings. I'm not a parent, but I saw the call from the neighborhood association and got involved. And I don't get any active resistance. I get a lot of paralysis at that table. It's a table I've seen many times in my career. And the other thing I just wanted to add is that speaking with Deanna and hearing about what's going on in the schools, I feel confident there's a lot of teachers who similarly are a bit caught or paralyzed with uncertainty. There's good work going on. There's investments being made. There's an attempt to engage, but there's a real lack of clear confidence about what actions are possible, what people should be doing. And so there is a need to really disrupt some of the practices occurring right now. And since I have the floor, I'm just going to say one thing about the city versus going rogue. I think the reason that DEI things like this are called for is because these systems and processes are not working for everybody. And so while there may be power, I just encourage us to think carefully about what that power actually is and whether or not it actually helps us reach where we're intending to try to get ourselves to. And I'll stop there. I definitely appreciate, Jean, that you made it more clear tonight about the choices, because the initial meeting to me felt much freer.
Yes.
And a sort of an opportunity to not be bound by some of these system rules that I think are literally part and parcel with what's preventing innovative change. Thanks.
Thank you, Sarah. I am hearing from this group that says we need to consider how we can best help the school. And it might be a little disruptive, it might be empowering. They might give us some important work to do by showing up and saying, how can we help? Because right now we've only got D from the undivided, and it is a structure. We have to deal with that structure. I don't want to, I don't even know, I don't know enough about it to even speak to it. I just was a high school teacher one time in a private school. I don't know about these systems. So you guys, I mean, but I'm hearing this is priority right now. We probably need a little more work before we can even talk further on strategic plans.
Can I jump in?
Right. Do you think I'm hearing that correctly? Laura, what'd you want to say? And then I think, did I see Donald? I'm not sure. Laura.
We're good.
So I wanted to offer that the work that Eyes of Hope has been doing with Girl to Girl over the last 13 years has been the grassroots model of that slow and steady. So I think that coming together with diversity and inclusion has many different voices that the community is starting to be aware of. It has taken a long time to become recognized in Stoughton for Girl to Girl and Eyes of Hope. But something that Eyes of Hope really would like to do is to collaborate to bring in diversity and inclusion workshops at all of the schools. And Eyes of Hope has been partnering with Mosaicos to try to pool our funds in order to make an impact. So I think that the fact that we're here and we're getting excited about how to envision and dream diversity and inclusion change within the high school, I think that this is the merging of a lot of potential and opportunity. So I just wanted to offer a lot of hope here that I see fall 2022 as a wonderful time to really be ready to offer the school district some programming that maybe our group decides together, which brings me to a point that I wanted to bring to the meeting. And that is, do we want to be government centric with planning? Because when I was looking through city websites, it looked like some cities plant diversity and inclusion really focused on how to bring diversity and inclusion within the workplace, within the government system of the city. And then other towns had, do we want to be diversity and inclusion centric around the community and teaching and empowering and leading the community to change? And I lead toward the community end naturally. And so I think it all ties together. So I think if our strategic plan is going, I think that those are some things that we have to decide as a group. And then if it is a community plan, then the community is going to be served by our work.
Well stated.
And on that note, I was also reading that stuff that you sent us. And I like the idea of reaching out to the community first to find out what the community needs and what the community thinks. But I'm not sure how to structure that. Like, I just don't want to say, okay, if you're interested, come to this building at this time and this day, because nobody shows up. I want to get into the community, where people are, and say, hey, what do you think about these issues? How do you feel? What solutions do you have? And just reach out and just get into it.
Community organizing is an amazing experience.
I think the undivided is very much willing to participate in that conversation too. And I think that so having Dee on the future meetings will bring a lot of that. And I think too, there's Mosaicos and Eyes of Hope is doing a summer program for youth, and they're looking for help too at the youth center. They're looking for volunteers. They say that you might have to like being in a loud building, but that is a perfect way to get it straight from the, however you say it, straight from the kid's mouth. They're looking for volunteers 3 to 6 on Monday through Friday, and 12 to 5 on non-school days and summer days.
Yeah.
If anybody is open for that. If at least from the youth's perspective at the middle school age.
I realize we are at 7:45. I always end for sure by 8 p.m. We had hoped to end a little earlier. Can I just do a little summarizing? Before I do a little summarizing, does anybody have more comments or anything more to say in regards to city versus rogue, the importance of the school, and us having some pretty strong visceral? I sensed it. I think there was this important moment that I was seeing among us all about that. I think that's seminal right now. That's really important that we look at that. That is just 2 things I've observed. I am so glad I've been transparent. So what do you guys think of this, that I get this encapsulated, particularly this part for the people that weren't here? We're going to ask them to try, if they can, review this. About, wasn't the most eloquent, but it was very straightforward and honest. City versus going rogue. 2 meetings. This is more city-like. We're going to make a decision, I'd ask for a motion. We're not. I'm just asking you to chew on stuff. But I think we should invite the people who aren't here. And I mean, we've got a solid group of people already. And George just joined us, and we can see how solid he is. So we're good. I mean, so ask these people to review it. And I'm guessing in the next meeting or 2, I'm hearing that we probably do want to get to the heart of the matter around that, and not just let this, because it is going to influence how we go about this. Laura, thank you for that comment. I'm pretty sure it was you who said, no, it was Sarah who said, are we trying to get to governmental and just help our city? Or are we really trying to choose our community, and what's our best model? I do think we can serve both a bit, but we really need to clearly embrace where our passions are, so that we do that well, and we do what we say, and we have integrity and all that. They've kept this pretty open. We didn't know it would come, but we know we need to do something. And I'm hearing we know it needs to involve the school. So what I plan to do is I plan to get Jill and Frank, and maybe even if you guys are comfortable, share a part of this if they want to see it. It was a good discussion about the important Denise, what she had to say about, her chair's empty, but Denise had some powerful things to say about the school, and a lot of nodding about we might need to disrupt, but yet we're also hearing there's groups, Dee's group, Families for Equity, if I typed it correctly before, and Amanda's telling us about some youth stuff. So we can do this in these ways. We just kind of need to decide where our heart's going to be. So I'm remaining 50-50. I'm going to hear and pull out, and people are doing a nice job of helping crystallize it. there is some power staying with the city, but yet, oh my God, it's going to restrict us. And would it restrict the community work? Who knows? All of these questions, that's just one example. Maybe we're going to do a plus minus, who knows? But that, I think I don't want to waste too much more time, not waste. I don't want to spend too much more time on this, but I don't feel we're ready to make a decision, and we should bring it forward to others. And hopefully by the end of next meeting, perhaps we could get to a sense of where we're headed. What do you guys think about that?
Jean, I just want to make a comment that I was part of a parent group in the middle school. Unfortunately, the group didn't last, but while we had momentum, we were able to implement things like something called Way for the Day, where kids did not have their cell phones for the entire day when they were at school. They started the day without a cell phone, and they didn't get their phone back until the beginning of the day, or the end of the day rather. And we all know what social media is doing with our kids. So that was really powerful. They haven't kept that up though, unfortunately, because this parent group unfortunately dissipated. Actually, it imploded. But there are parents that are super interested in being part of change. They just don't know how. And if they're given the vehicle, which at this one point in time, they had the vehicle, we had over 100 parents who were interested. The whole thing just breaks my heart. It's very personal for me. There's so many parents who are interested, they just don't know how. And there's so many issues and so many teachers that aren't supported with all the phenomenal work that they do, that I was shocked at how easy it is to implement change when you've got the people who are passionate and interested in doing it. I would just say with this group, I think we just need, what I'm seeing is we just need to figure out where we want to go and just be super clear about our direction so that we're able to be most effective in whatever we want to do, whatever direction that is. But personally speaking, from having worked in the schools and having had a little bit of success, boy, working with parents, there are parents who are just dying to get involved, but they have no idea, because once your kid leaves grade school, how do you get involved? So if there's a mechanism to involve those parents, whether it be a group or, however it's structured, you can get a lot of parents really passionate and involved.
I wish we had Dee here for her commentary. She unfortunately had to take her son to an urgent situation. So that I'm hearing some pretty cool stuff. So if you haven't done your homework assignment yet, which is take a look at those resources I put out there, it looks like they're helping inform us, which is good. Somebody offered, I'll re-email out that group. I can do that. That's allowed. If you have resources or stuff you want listed on it, I'll update it and get it sent out with the next summary, just like I did last time. But know that I'm still trying to stay within all the city stuff right now, because we're technically in the city. So I'm breaking the rules a little bit, but definitely looking like I'm behaving. That's called rebelling against texture. So yeah, please, nothing new to do except chew on this. Do we need to go? And when I say rogue, we're still going to give reports. We're going to be transparent. We're going to bring all of our ideas and then get ourselves invited to a city council meeting. I mean, those things will still happen. It's how we're going to operate during the time that we have. How do you want to do that? And I'm hearing some directions today about the importance of parents in school. And there is also this city structure, because I promise that, but maybe that's not the major thing. That is cool. The city will be happy if so I need to be quiet. Monthly meetings, I'm sending out the doodle poll. We're going to meet hopefully at one of those Wednesdays that is chosen by our group. And I'll get a good summary out to you guys with good questions for you to ponder for that next meeting. How does that sound? So timing wise though, we have an event coming up. There is a Set into My table. on May 13th and May 14th, and that's not ours. That's like owned by Girl to Girl Eyes of Hope. We were invited, even though we didn't have money. At some point, we're going to try to throw some money at whatever that cost. We're going to be good for it, trust me. And cookies are going to be made with perhaps a DEI type logo. Laura, what do you want to say about the Set into My Table? And can people contact you to sign up? Because I just don't want us having a Google Doc out there right now.
Absolutely. It looks like we only have 3 spots needed. I need to toggle over. On Saturday of Set into My, we need 1 spot from 9 to 11, 1 spot from 11 to 1, and 1 spot from 1 to 3. And what we're going to do is we're going to have an information table that includes diversity and inclusion, and Jean's going to write me a paragraph. We're going to have the refugee group of Stoughton, and Kay Whedon is going to write me a paragraph. We're going to have Mosaicos and Eyes of Hope. And I'm going to put all of our paragraphs in a document with contact if you want to join and information. And I'm going to put that in a QR code. And I'm going to stick a sticker on the back of a diversity and inclusion cookie package that people can buy or scan if they don't want to buy a cookie. And it's going to be a cookie that has the power fist with a pride flag on a cookie. And so that is our attempt to let Stoughton know what is happening in Stoughton if you want to join. And that's my way of getting the word out about what we're doing. And if you would like to sign up, I am Laura.Roven in the email list, and I only need 3 slots. The rest are covered. Any questions?
You gotta go. So we're gonna bow out. I just wanted to let you finish your thought before we did. So you all have a great night, and we'll catch you on the next meeting.
Nice meeting you.
All right.
Thanks, guys. I'll have Laura's contact information in the summary that I get out to you this weekend. I know it's Easter weekend, but you should have that before Easter Sunday.
Thanks, Jean.
Is the undivided part of the table?
I'm meeting with Deanna tomorrow.
Okay.
So I will ask. I didn't think
you
that.
weren't at our last meeting, but someone, I don't remember who, it might have been Amanda Potraz, said, hey, is there space, or do we want to consider getting a table and space for, they did say Black-owned businesses, but I expanded historically marginalized. That was Mary.
Yeah.
It was Mary's idea. Thank you.
Yeah.
I don't know how big our table is, but I just wanted you to know that that came up.
How could I do that well? Is it a list of historically marginalized businesses in Stoughton?
There's not an existing list of that, but at our last meeting, 3 businesses were named that we know are Black owned. I commented and said, I think there's more because I know there's Turkish Spices.
Which is fabulous if you haven't been there.
And Turkish, so people of BIPOC is people of color. I mean, technically Jason Yellowbird has his business and he's pretty out there. So when we talk about having places for people of color, I mean, just it's a great idea. I don't know if they want a table or do we want to, it was perhaps an idea because here's Set into My and here's Stoughton, and look at this amazing Norwegian country and what Norwegian base has brought forth. I mean, we might need to talk about that message about what we hope to accomplish besides presence and these visual
inclusion.
It's inclusion. So, I mean, we not talking offline now. This community-based thing, it's going to be a challenge, but we can. But yeah, there's the Turkish business, there's Jason Yellowbird. I don't know if he'd be interested.
Would somebody be willing to put that together? And then what we could do is include it on the table and maybe have a second QR code on the table with a signage to say, Jean, how did you say it? I was going to say black-owned businesses, but
Good terminology, and anybody else?
Let's ask them. Let's
Historically,
ask them.
Yes,
Let's ask them.
Let's ask them. But BIPOC businesses is pretty good and inclusive. Historically marginalized is very literature and research centered. That's not their word.
okay.
But there's Bitty Books, there's Coffee for All, there's the one with the little mitten moccasins that are being made. Those are
Yes.
3 right there that you could ask.
Mary, would you consider putting the list together and emailing me?
I knew that was coming. Sure, I can.
Thank you.
I don't have more than those 3 though, Jean. If you could, I don't
There's the
know.
Turkish
We're gonna do
The
a call
Turkish
out.
license.
We're gonna do a call out to the group. So I think I'm within rules, and if I'm not too bad, that you would email Laura directly. Not a big discussion. One way to Laura. Do you know any? I don't like the word minority owned, but for older folks, that words might make sense.
Is
Maybe
non-Norwegian safe?
that's good.
You can't just say black-owned businesses.
Let's say BIPOC, because we do have Turkish, right? Are you okay with BIPOC?
Yeah, I like BIPOC.
I also heard there was a post on Facebook about Itty Bitty being the first Black-owned business on Main Street, and someone mentioned a place called Acme. And I don't know what that is or what they do, but I think that they mentioned that it was a man who owned something with metal. I'm not exactly sure what it was, but I'll look for it.
So actually, to keep this safe for now, all of you have my email. I'll dispense this information, but if you figure out a BIPOC or a, this new clothing store here on the east side, that's where the dog groomer used to be. I think that's Black owned too, and I just haven't had a chance to meet them. She opened in the middle of winter when there was a lot going on with work. So yeah. But I like your idea of at least recognizing them. Maybe they become part of our table is what we're perhaps gathering from this.
Can Families for Equity be part of that table?
Yeah.
I think the Undivided, she's meeting with, and who?
Families for Equity is my wife.
Thank you. I don't see why not, but I can't speak for the whole table, but I think we're pretty open and inclusive.
Absolutely.
We would help out with any of those times, Laura, if we can, and I can find that out and let you know.
Fantastic. We'd love it. And I just want to offer that if you want to send me a paragraph and contact information, I'm just assembling and putting it on a QR code so that people have it and can walk away with knowing that they can read through it at their leisure and it's not paper that's going to be lost.
But let me throw this at you, Jean, and then I'll be quiet. Could we do the Families for Equity with the Undivided? And then if Deanna wants to sell t-shirts, we could sell t-shirts there.
Sure.
So we have a QR code, but we also have something, that they can see right in front of them. It's like, here we are. Here's the shirt. That's part of who we are. This is what we're trying to accomplish.
I think that's a great idea. And we're in front of the Wendigo, which is small. So, but there's the EMC squared, which is right next door. And I will ask them to use their storefront too. So bring a table and we'll keep going. We just can't block the entrance to the upstairs that's next to the Wendigo. But I think we're going to go that far, that we'll be in front of the Wendigo, in front of EMC squared, and I'll ask permission.
And Itty Bitty is right upstairs. So I wonder if she would want to do anything if we're right there.
I don't think she's there anymore. I think that that's a rock shop now. Isn't that?
No, she's still there, but she's at a different spot there.
Oh, okay.
She's up the stairs and forward.
Laura, do you want me to ask Todd if we can go in front of EMC too?
Jean, did you ask that?
I'll ask you privately later. You guys, thank you for this great meeting. It's 8 o'clock. We gotta go.
Don't
Good to see
forget
you.
to stop recording.
I will stop recording right now.